the xenacanthus, an extinct shark that lived during the Carboniferous and Permian periods and had a spine-like protrusion on its back.
This terrifying looking creature used to stalk the oceans and shallow waters of the prehistoric Earth around roughly 300 million years ago. Sharks are actually a very ancient species. They arose before much of the life on land arose, though they are also ironically considered very low on intelligence. So it's just another show that just being a long-lived species doesn't necessarily contribute to higher levels of brain function, and that it's all just determined by the specific environment and environmental roles that a species plays in their given niche. And so this is kind of where we'd see the start. It was the collapse of the entire land-based biosphere at that time, mostly dominated by partially by semi-aquatic amphibians for the most part, and the eukaryotic egg is what actually allowed for further life to arise further in from the wetland regions that used to dominate most of the world during these hothouse phases. This is also the period that led to the formation of much of modern Earth's coal supply, due to the fact that the rainforest collapsed at this time, burned up and were covered up, and there was no fungus evolved at that time to consume plant matter, so it all kind of more or less stayed in one place and became peat, and it became coal after eons. But during this time it was actually a very violent almost extinction event. Yeah, it was considered one, if not one of the top 5, because of all of the calamity that happened to the ecosystems. Now, not every ecosystem or swampland environment was affected simultaneously, but over the preceding millions of years, with the increased aridity of the planet, more and more of these small pockets of wetland were indeed burned up over the preceding centuries because they could not maintain their water supply. These were more like jungles, I'd say, than more like swampy marshes. I would say they were more like jungles with primordial plants, not exactly what we have today, but very different than modern ecosystems. But it also paved the way for more diverse ecosystems on the planet after much of those ecosystems were deprived during the great drying event, where much of the world was set on fire due to the increased aridity. And this really only benefited the sharks. As I said, they waited at the shores for small animals and prey to come out of the forest as they were ablaze into the water to be eaten. So basically this was a bad day for the planet, but an admittedly good day for modern society that's flourishing due to the abundance of these untapped resources. But it's just interesting how one period is still having great effects on even the modern ecosystems, as we see increased global warming and changes in temperature, all a direct effect of these fossil fuels that have been untapped for so long and now being released into the atmosphere. A few further things to note: the loss of these rainforests at the time that inhabited most of the continent of Pangaea actually also contributed to the formation of primitive river and delta flows that were not possible when it was a deeply rooted sedimentary environment that didn't allow for much rapid flow of rivers into the ocean. So now you had the formation of the first river deltas and things that were made possible, and also different abundances in sedimentation, and allowed for the greater flow of sedimentation, I guess, into the ocean, which could have possibly been another benefiting factor to the ocean-based ecosystems as well that might have booned their development. But obviously sharks had enough to boon their development with all of the extra prey that they were taking advantage of from the shores. Atmospheric composition is directly correlated with and even influenced by largely the biospheres alive at the time and their effects in various ecosystems. So directly prior to this era, we saw the era of giant insects, larger in body size as well, that thrived due to heightened levels of oxygen in the environment, in the atmosphere. And so you see these two feed each other, but now with the Carboniferous rainforest collapse, there are less trees, more carbon dioxide is produced because of the burning. And not all the forests burned, obviously, because there's tremendous untapped energy there. But a lot of these fires are what caused these mass extinctions at the time. And so it also transformed the atmosphere into something more stable like it is today, that's a mix of oxygen and carbon dioxide. But at the time it would have been very, very bad for the life that had arisen to and evolved to take advantage of the atmosphere at that time. It would have seen different adaptations in body size as a direct result of this event, and others, including extinctions. If you enjoyed this content, thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing. I'll catch you all around. And now, after all these changes, the Earth was able to eventually stabilize, and then around 250 million years ago, things were more climatic and seasonal, but still, there were a lot of mass extinctions due to this. And I'd like to thank you all for watching. I appreciate the support, and if you'd like more content, consider subscribing for more informational content like this. I'll catch you all around.